Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our sixth MitoArtisan Playtime session. We believe that creating and connecting with other artists creates healing. Whether you're young or old, a seasoned artist, or just curious, we're so glad that you've joined us today to explore art together. Just to give everyone a little history, our Mito Artisan Playtime space was born out of a conversation with artist and Mito champion Christine Knox. Christine is an illustrator with Mito who has led us through many of our sessions so far. She's walked with us through how to draw everything from zebras to eyes to holiday ornaments. If you haven't tackled these types of drawings yet, I encourage you to peek at some of our past sessions. Last month, we had the honor of guest artist Joey Hernandez joining us to discuss tips and tricks with low vision art. But today is extra special because we're kicking off Mitochondrial Disease Awareness Week, and Mito champion Kareb Richtman is here to join us to walk us through how to make knitted hearts for the Mito Heart Project. A special thanks to Amy at Darn Knit Anyway for hosting Karen on site and spreading the word about this project with their knitting community. Please note that this session is being recorded, so you can go back and review later. If you have questions throughout the session, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll ask Karen as she moves along with her knitting demonstration. If your questions are more generalized, you can feel free to wait to the end of today's session and unmute yourself to ask your own question. If you're watching this video after today's presentation and you have questions or would like to knit hearts for the Mito Heart Project, please reach out to Kareb Richtman at KLRICHTMAN@gmail.com. You can also find her email address in the course description above the video. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mito champion Kareb Richtman. Karen has been an educator for children and adults all her adult life. She's challenged herself with both knitting and sewing skills so she could better teach others. She finds joy in making things for family and friends, as well as charitable contributions. Her accomplishments have earned her blue ribbons as well as published patterns. She loves to take inspirations and make them into tangible items. Her 3 children and 6 growing grandchildren keep her busy with projects from sweaters to quilts, and her passion for all things knit or sewn brings her enormous joy and satisfaction. As a person with mitochondrial myopathy, knitting is her favorite craft. She loves to have something to do that is productive, even when she's out of energy and resting. It's a great way to feel useful, even on a challenging day. Additionally, it's fun and rewarding. Karen has a passion for helping others, and we're so honored to have her in this space today. Karen, thank you so much for your willingness to share your gifts and your skills of knitting with the Mito community, and for those that are joining us now and those that will be coming on to join us later as they review this video.
I'm really happy to be here. This is fun. Something new to me. I have never done a Zoom class before. So for me, you're going to have to laugh along with me as I make little mistakes and just know that I'm doing my best to be prepared. So we'll see how it goes. I want to start by talking about mitochondrial myopathies, mitochondrial diseases. They're all things that affect our mitochondria and change the way that our body works. And the simplest way I could think of to explain what it is to what's happening in your body is that we all know, probably everyone's learned about cells in the last 100 years in school. So you're taking a class and the teacher teaches you about these cells that go through your body and you go, oh, sure, right. I can't see them, but they're in there. Well, inside those cells, there's something called mitochondria, and mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. So they take and they create the energy that we all need to be successful in doing all the things we love to do. When you have a mitochondrial myopathy, which just means that your mitochondria aren't working quite right, or a mitochondria deficiency, which means you're missing a little bit of something, or a mitochondrial disease, which can be very serious. Not that they're not all important, but when it's a full mutation of the mitochondria, in other words, they're not working right completely, that you really need that those mitochondria become a very important part of survival. And I want everyone to know that you still can be a productive person, even if you're in a place where you can't leave your home, or you need to rest 12 hours a day, or this is just how I've gotten through it. It absolutely came about because I started having health issues at about age 40. And some friends said, "Do you know how to knit?" And I said, somebody tried to teach me once, but I wasn't very good at it. And so they retaught me how to knit, and I didn't stop. It was like the best thing I ever did for myself. It was calming, it was fun, and it was productive. I don't like to sit still. I have a million ideas in my head and I want to do them all. So this is really fun to teach you about this project, which it started as an idea, as I sat and knit during one of our Mito calls. And I thought, wait a minute, we were all really sad that day. It seemed like a kind of a downer kind of conversation. And I thought, and this heart popped into my head. And I said, oh, I got it. We need to do this where when people are having a medical issue, a family conflict, a family loss, any of those things, wouldn't it be lovely to be able to do something that's very personal? And so Stephanie and I worked together, kind of brainstormed the idea of how it might happen, and here we are today. So I'd like to go over the pattern with you. And we're going to do this in a way that what I did, I'm going to put the pattern up so you can see. The idea of the pattern was to make it as simple as possible to explain what you need to do, and then the video is the support to that. I brought the yarn with me. This is what the yarn I'm using today is. It's called Big Twist, and it's an acrylic yarn, and I did that very intentionally to get an acrylic yarn because I didn't want to cause anyone to have an allergic reaction. So I picked the most friendly yarn that I could think of. Cotton's really hard on your hands, and I didn't think any of us really wanted to be working with cotton. So I went with the acrylic, and acrylic is also less expensive. This one is, and this is only, I think, in the United States, maybe they do this. Amy might know the answer to this, but this is a size 4 right here of yarn. And it means that they call it a bulky, but it's not very bulky. And you can buy a 5 or a 4 in the size of your yarn. And the bulkier the yarn is, the bigger the heart becomes. So I would say if you want to go with bulkier, you can go as big as you want. Okay. But there'll be a few things that will have to work out if you do go with a much bigger heart just for the mailing purposes. But I think we're good. I think we've got our packaging covered for how to do it. So that's what the heart looks like when it's done. And it's not tiny, but it's not huge either. And it's just kind of like the right size for a hand for a squishy. So I'm using this yarn that is just fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not something you need to buy that yarn. The one that Amy had here that I just wanted to show you is this is called Uptown DK, which is a smaller yarn, but she says it comes in other weights as well. So you would want as big as you choose. I would prefer that you not go too small with the hearts. I don't really want you to do a very tiny heart because I want it to be a handful. That's my dream anyway. And I guess I get to, since I'm the one that thought of it, I'm kind of thinking I'm gonna ask you to use bigger yarn if you can. Okay, so here we are. Um, the supplies that you need are listed on the pattern. So the nice thing about this pattern is it's knit flat. So it is you start knitting and you just never have to seam up anything or take off pieces. I've done it in steps so you can see each of the stitches. But I'll show you some of the things that are things you'll need. So these are size 8 straight needles, and these are size 8 double pointed needles, which I put an end on just to keep the yarn on as I'm knitting. And I also have a size 8 to say that these are all the same. They look different, but they all are the same. And they're made out of 3 different, does that work? There we go. They're made out of 3 different types of material. And the one that I found that works the easiest is the metal ones. Okay. When you work with the wood and acrylic yarn, it's not very slippery, but if you work with a metal, And you know what? If you don't have this kind of knitting needle, that is a straight knitting needle, and you ask any of the people in your neighborhood if they have some size 8 knitting needles, because you could use any length, you will find them for free. Because this is what our grandparents all
Yep.
knit with. These are actually the ones that are double point are actually ones that are would be used normally for hats or socks. But I like using them on these small projects because they're lightweight and they work really well for what we need. And when I knit most of my hearts for this so far, I've been using a double point or a circular needle. And I like that because then you don't have to worry about the needles falling on the ground. So that's my 2 cents on that supply or those supplies in general. And you'll also probably want to keep a pair of scissors handy and a needle, a knitting darning needle, which I have one here.
It was attached on the metal circular needles.
Ah, it is.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so these needles have a large eye and they often have a little curve on them, and it makes it really easy because they're not a point that is sharp. And so you can weave them in and out of your stitches. So these are the basic things that you need, with one more little thing that you'll which is polyester fill. And you buy it at any craft store. If you don't have any, I would say you can. I've heard of all kinds of things that people have used to stuff in these things, for anything from a plastic bag from shopping to an old t-shirt to you name it. A pillow that you have at home that you don't use anymore, you could take it, you could pull some out, and you just need little bits to fill these, and we'll go over that in a little bit. Okay. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to cast on stitches. And I'm going to assume I will show you quickly how I cast on, which is called the long tail cast on, which I don't see an empty spool here. They're all hooked to other things. Hang on. We'll go with them here. This will work. All right. So when you're going to do a cast on, the long tail cast on is one of the most common cast ons, and I want you to leave a tail that's between 8 and 10 inches long, because you're going to use the tail to sew the seams together. There's only a couple of stitches you have to take, but you need enough to be able to use it on with your needle. If it's too short, then you're going to have to add a piece in. So I made a slip knot, which I think most people, if they've ever knit at all, know how to do a slip knot. And then you take the slip knots on the right needle, holding it in your right hand, and you stick the needle underneath into this where your thumb is, come around the back and pull it through. You don't want to pull it real tight, but so you can see it's got looseness to it. I can move it. And then I do it again. So I have my 2 fingers, I come around my thumb, pick up this one, and I've got an extra stitch there. That didn't work. Okay. Remember what I said about this is my first time on Zoom? Okay. So that's 3, 4, 5. It's a little short. Should have been a longer than 8-inch tail. Let's call it a 12-inch tail you want on. Okay. So there's my 6 stitches, and that's the bottom of the heart is going to come right from here. So you're working from the bottom tip. It doesn't look like a tip right now, but it will look like one by the time we're done. Okay, so that's the first stitch, or the first step. And the second step is to start knitting the bottom of the heart. And
Karen, I'm going to ask you a quick question, and this
Yeah.
is just because I kept trying to count. You said 6 stitches, and that's 6 loops. Is that equivalent to 6 loops?
yeah, that's 6. That's the equivalent of the loops are equivalent to a stitch.
Okay.
Okay, good question. All right, so now I'm going to knit, and I'm going to knit in the way that I normally knit after having a conversation with Stephanie and Amy, who we all have different ways to do the knitting. I happen to be a continental knitter, so I use my left hand as my priority hand, but I'm happy to show people how to do it both ways. So if you raise your hand and Stephanie can see you, I can't see you, right? But or put it in the chat if you need me to show you the other way to knit these things. Okay. So the first row that you're going to do is, and here it is on the pattern, cast on 6 inches with a size 8 needle. You'll start at the bottom of the heart, row 1, and all wrong side or odd rows before row 16 are purl. So we are on the very first purl row. And some people really don't like to purl, but it takes practice, and I agree. It's not always the easiest stitch to do, and there's many ways to do it. So if you don't like it one way, you probably could find another way to do it. And I'm just going to purl these 6 stitches. So I have this little band that's forming. And when we get to the end, I'm going to change hands with the needles. And on row, so now I just purled my first row. I'm going to go to row 2, and row 2 is on the right side. And if you look at what I'm holding in my hand, you can see these stitches right here they look like a loop or a teardrop. And over here, they're all bumps. These are purl stitches, and these are the ones that look like teardrops are knit stitches. So I'm on the right side of which is going to be all knit stitches. And I'm going to show you the way that this heart needs to be increased for your stitches, because if you're used to doing increases a different way, they don't look very good on this particular project. So this kind of increase, you knit 1 stitch. So I'm knitting 1 stitch, and then I'm going to make a stitch. So look on right here, there's a bar between the 2 stitches right there. And this bar, whoops, I gotta watch not that, but watch what I'm doing. This bar goes on to your left needle, and then you're going into the back of that stitch. So sometimes what I do is I use my finger and get that needle to go in the right place. The first row is always the hardest, just telling you now, because it won't be that hard after. So what I've done is I've stuck that needle in the back side. And then I flip it up like this so that I can knit the stitch. So all I've done is raise my needles to make a little X, and I'm going to wrap the yarn around it and pull it right through that bar, right under the bar. And now I have 2 stitches there. I started with 1, now I have 2. This pattern, it's one little thing that it will make you crazy if you aren't paying attention. So don't worry about marking up your pattern and checking off that you've done it at a certain row. Is that you do this twice, knit 1, make 1. So I knit 1, whoops, knit 1. And then I pick up the bar, put it on, and I make 1. And then it says to do that twice, and then knit just 2 regular stitches, and then knit 1, or no, and then this is the one that very confusing row for me. I've made this mistake too many times, so I'm going to point it out that the next one is not knit 1, make 1, it's make 1, knit 1. And if you do it wrong, it doesn't work. So you're going to find out. Now, the good news is you only have to go back a couple stitches if you actually do it wrong. But so now I'm going to make the stitch. So I've done the ones that knit the 2. Now I'm going to pick up the bar, same way, but I'm doing the make 1 first. And then I'm going to knit 1. And then I'm going to make 1. There's the bar, put it up. And I'm going to make that stitch. And then I'm going to knit 1. Now I've come to the end of the row, and that's what it looks like. It's just kind of bumpy or whatever. And now it's time to purl. So every other row, you're going to be doing purling. So here's my purl row. You can see the bumps. That's all the purls. And so I'm going to purl this row for you because I want to show you another time. Now, while you're doing your purl row, you can count how many stitches you have, because at this point you should have 10. And if you don't have 10, then this is the time to find out that you're missing a stitch or you have one too many. And believe me, I've done it, so I know. Okay, so here's all the purl. All right, it grows really fast. It's not a very time-consuming project. Turn it around. Okay, so the next one is a right side row. There's the knit stitches, and it says knit 2, knit 1, make 1 twice, knit 3, so it's getting bigger, and then make 1, knit 1, and then make 1, knit 1, and then knit. So if we skip ahead, it is consistently going to go this way for a number of rows, and each time, let me see the page. What's the deal? It's this page I want. Where is it? Is it stuck? It's stuck. Must be stuck. I can show you my written up one. There we go. There. Okay. So these rows grow. So now, as you go further in your heart, as you're working your way up the body of the heart, you're gonna go knit 3, make 1, knit 1 twice, knit 5, so the center gets bigger. And when you look at these hearts, it totally makes sense that that's what you're doing. So we're down here, and they have to keep spreading. So that by the time we're all done, we went from 6 stitches to 17 stitches. And that's where I'm going to start is right here, where we're on row 16. Let me find it for you, exact one. Okay. This is what it looks like when you get to row 16. There it is. And what you'll notice about it is it has the increases right here. So it's going to make lines so that let me do them without a flower on it. So that when you put your heart together, the sides of your heart will be these pieces this row right here. It's almost like a place to bend and bring around. So when you get all done, this one piece heart will fold right there to make this thing that looks like a heart. Okay. All right, row 16 is different because you just knit across. And then the only thing, it's not hard, so don't think it is. The only thing that you have to think about next is you're going to be on row 17, which is you purl across and you make something that looks kind of like, this one is not a good example. I'll use this one. Okay, so you're going to have something that looks like this. I've got it on my circular needle, but it's just going to be, you're going to purl across this 17 stitches. And the idea is you're going to start making the heart bumps. And the way they're made is you have 30, by the time you're done at the row 17, you have enough stitches that you can you'll have 34 stitches, which if you look at row 14, you've got 34 stitches. Here you take 17 stitches and you put them on 2 separate needles, or you can, if you're using a circular needle, you can just put 17 on one side and knit the other 17. So that's actually what I've done here is I've already reduced all those down to the 9 stitches that it's going to require right. Where did that go? It's 9. Oh, here. Begin the first bump. I was in the wrong place. Okay, row 20. So when I get to row 20 and I've completed it, I cut my yarn, which I did here, and I left a little bit of extra. And this is the place where you take your scissors or your needle, sorry, not your scissors. And this is a type of way to cast off. You put the thread on your needle. I like to fold it in half and stick it through the needle like that. And then taking this piece of, and if you're on two different needles, this will be one separate needle, not two in a way. So let's see, I could probably get that out of the way. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this needle through and pick up the stitches like so. And then I pull the string, and lo and behold, you have a heart box. So this is what it looks like. And you actually can see it. Now you can see how that heart's top is made. Okay. So later, we're going to fold this back and it makes the complete back of the heart as well. So this next piece that you have that has 17 stitches left on it, and you want to start on the purl side, which it tells you that in the pattern is to attach the yarn on the purl side. And all you have to do is, whoops, take a piece of yarn. I put a marker on it on this one just to remind myself, but also to show you, you could actually mark where you're going to attach the yarn as you're separating them out so you don't mess it up. All right, so I'm going to take this yarn. It's on a separate ball. It's just a scrap from a different heart that I was making. And I got to pull it down to the other side on the wrong end. Okay. That's the only thing. If you're using the circular needle, you're going to move your needle, your whole knitting down to the other side and start there. And the reason you want to do that is because you need the wrong side to be showing, and that's the way that you can do that. So you basically you start purling, just normal purling, however you choose to do purling. And you go all the way to the end. And then if you look at what the pattern says, it's just like what we've done on every other one of them. You're going to do knit or make one, but in this case, the pattern is slightly different because you have to knit two together. And I want to teach you a stitch that you may not know. Get to the end of this row, which is 17 stitches, and I'm almost there. Okay, so we're at 17. We go, now we're on row. We've attached the yarn, we purled across 17 stitches, and now we want to, I'm still on the other one. Oh, good job, Karen. Okay. Now we can use two separate needles, two different kinds. Doesn't matter, they're all the same. And I would be, if I was paying attention, I would have left it on the circular needle, but I didn't. So I'll just grab another. Okay. So the way that you do this is you knit one, you knit two together. And that means you take your tip of your needle and you stick it between these two stitches. So see it's sticking out, and there's that X again that we saw before. And you pull it through those two stitches like that. And then it says that I'm supposed to knit 3 because I'm on the second bump right now. 1, 2. So I had 1, 2, 3. So 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3, 4, 5. So we should have 5 stitches. I'm gonna get the 5 stitches done. Then here's the stitch that you may or may not know. This is called a slip knit, and I can't tell you how many times I had to call a friend who was my knitting 1-800 knitting friend and say, what is an SSK? So An SSK is when you're going to slip stitches and you're going to reduce the stitches, but it makes them angle, and that's what's going to hide them in the heart. So the first thing you do is you put your needle in, and just like this, like you're going to knit, but just slip it off. And then the second thing that you do is you stick the needle in as if you're going to purl, which is in front, and you slip it off. And you take your left needle and you stick it under those 2 stitches that you just slipped over, and you knit them just like you knit any other stitch. And so that comes like that. And now I've reduced 2 stitches, or a stitch, from the 2 down to 1. And then it tells me that I want to do that twice. So I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to knit 1, whoopsie, and lose a stitch and put it back on. Knit 2 together. Knit 3. And then I'm going to slip 1 knitwise, slip 1 purlwise, knit them together from the front and knit. And then it says, uh-oh, and then it says knit 1. So guess what? We didn't have the right number of stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. We have one. I messed up somewhere here. So let's go back. We have knit 1. Oh, I see what I did. Here's what I did. I did knit 1 and I didn't do my knit 2 together.
But this
I
is
would say
good
that,
because I think it's helpful for people to see when you mess up, how do you
Yep.
take that apart and
Right. So
fix it?
here's how you unknit. If you have not unknit, I just have to get this because it's the slip knit. These are 2 stitches here. So what I would say is the one thing I have learned about these hearts, because I have made a lot of them, is if you want to save yourself time, don't just go ahead and knit, count them first, because there's not that many to count. And every time I do this and I mess up, I go, why didn't I count that row? And I did that again today. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so something's not right. And it could have happened before we ever started this, when I had already done this one. Let's see what we got. I'm just going to keep going back. So I'm sticking the needle into the front of the stitch and pulling out the yarn. All right, I'm back to the beginning of that row, and I did my knit 1, knit 1, knit 2 together. Let me count how many we really have. So that was originally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I was not supposed to have 16 stitches. I was supposed to have 17. How did that work? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Oh, no, it's right. Okay, knit 2 together. Now we do knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're back to slip, slip, knit. So it's slip 1 knitwise, slip 1 purlwise, come from the front and pick them both up and knit them. And then we repeat. Knit 1, knit 2 together. I like knit 2 together, so they're easier than slip, slip knits, but they don't work if you knit 3, slip 1 knitwise, slip 1 purlwise, knit them together. And knit the last one. Now I got it. Okay, that's what it
Now,
looks
what does the slip, slip, knit do versus when you toggle the 2 together? Like, I know when you do the 2
Okay.
together, you're reducing the amount that you have, but why do you do the slip, slip?
Okay, so
knit?
see how this is a knit 2 together right there. It just looks like 1 stitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but when we go to a slip, slip knit, I'm going to show you on a heart because it's easier to show you. The slip, slip knits are these angled stitches right there and
Oh.
right there. And there's 2 more. See how you can't even really find them. This one's angled right here. And they just blend in, and they don't, if you do them as knit 2 together, it I don't know, What would you say?
A slip knit stitch.
It's angled.
A slip knit angles the stitches one direction, and
Yeah.
a knit two together angles it the other. So you
Although that's
just
not
want
so
to-
obvious, but it's not an obvious until you get it done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you used all knit two together, you could use all knit two together if it was really overwhelming to you to try to do the slip knit. But the finished product of a heart that has the slip knits brings that angle of the heart. The stitch is coming in with the angle of the heart, and it just makes it look just like you did it on purpose because you did, right? And use that slip knit is used a lot in knitting, for example, hats and sweaters where you're reducing and increasing, and it makes it flow with the shape of whatever it is you're doing. So that's why we're doing these so many times with these little guys. So when we get to this point, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, I have 13 stitches, which means I'm on row 2, and I would have to purl another row and then purl the knit row. And then I would do my last row, which is that situation where you get to the last stitches, you have 9 left, and you do the same thing. You put the needle through and pull. So that heart is done except for doing the back. So the finishing part of it, some people are going to love it and maybe some people won't love it, but the way that it works, and I did this on purpose to try to show you, here's a heart that's what it looks like when you've sewn up the top couple of stitches, which I'm not going to go over because it's so few stitches. Do them any way you need to close it up. You can overhand it. You can, nobody's going to see it. So you close up these little bumps, gets pulled tight, and you bring this piece from the edge, and it's going to come around, and you're going to sew it right where the V is, right down to where that V is. So it'll be half an inch on each side. That's it. And so you just use the ends of the extra yarn that I told you to leave on everything. This extra yarn you put your needle on it and you just sew up that part. As soon as you've got that sewn together, then what you have is this. So here's my yarn that I stuffed in there. I cut and trimmed off. So I sewed right here. This is the little V section that you're going to sew together. These are those little flaps that are on either side where the stitching was increased. And you're going to take a little piece of fiber fill or whatever you have that you can use, something soft, hopefully. And you just stuff these little pockets that you've made, and it makes the heart bumps be heart bumps. So now they're bumps. And the next step is to take this piece from the bottom that you want to leave at least, this is only about, I don't know, 7 inches. Maybe you want to leave a little bit more just so it's easier to put the needle on. But you're going to start sewing up the back, and you, again, use whatever stitch you want, but I showed on the pattern. Whoopsie, there goes the heart. Okay. How I gave you a video link for the mattress stitch, which is the one that hides it the most. And that's fine if you want to learn how to do it. It's a really good skill to have. And then the next thing it talks about is sewing the bump together and how to do that, which I just showed you. And then you add the stuffing to the bumps and then sew up the bottom, just a little bit of the bottom of this heart so that you can take some more of this filling and stuff it full. Now, when you stuff it, I had a friend who helped me make some. My hearts are really firm. And you can make them firm if you want, and they should not, when you're knitting, if your stuffing is showing, that means you can go down a needle size so you don't see the actual stuffing. If I pull it apart, you can't even see my stuffing. So you're going to want to have your fabric that you're creating with your heart, you want to make sure that it is tight enough to hide the white filling inside. And then this is one that the friend did, and this one is really squishy, like this much squishy. And I think that's too soft because the heart loses its shape so easily. And then these little purple flowers that you're seeing that look blue on the camera to me, these were donated by another little shop called Rose Mill here in Stillwater, Minnesota. Um, I will put those on when I receive them from everyone who is making them. And we'll also, if you know how to crochet, you can crochet a little chain that will hook into this as well. It's not important if you're not able to do it. I figured I'd put a little loop on it so that somebody could hang it up if they wanted to, or put it on a Christmas tree if they wanted to. I don't know, put it on a keychain. You could do all kinds of things with it. So that's it in terms of all of the steps to it. I put all the abbreviations so you can have a place to find what it means if you've forgotten. And also I have the video of someone doing a YouTube video of how to pick up that bar that we talked about for making a stitch, and also the video of how to do slip stitch, slip knit, sorry. So yeah, and this pattern was actually adapted from a pattern that a woman named Amanda Berry made on Ravel, and it was on Ravelry. And I appreciate that we're able to use that as long as we aren't selling these hearts. So that was really nice.
Thank you so much, Karen. This was
Yeah.
amazing, and the project is really great too. Karen sent me a heart when my dad passed away last year, and it's super meaningful to just know that you're being thought of when there are hard things that are happening in your Mito world, and so really appreciate you taking initiative with the project. I'm curious, like a question that I had, like if you get stuck and need help, what should you do? What would your if you're making this
My
heart?
Okay. The first thing I would do if you're stuck is watch the videos and just turn the video on while you're knitting. And you can just slow it down really slow, or you can actually stop and start it. And I realized as I was doing it that I hadn't done a slip knit in quite a while, and I actually had messed it up. I'm like, mine don't look right. There's something that they were leaning like weird ways, and I was like, something's wrong. And then I just pulled up a video. And so that's why I put the videos in. I thought that might be nice to be able to first go to the video. If you get so stuck that you don't know what to do. The second thing I would think is if you have a knitting store in your community, go there and say, could you maybe help me for a few minutes? And I'm pretty sure you're going to get help. So that would be a really good choice. And the third, if you're really, really stuck and you can't get to the knitting store and you don't have anyone to help you, please just contact me and we'll figure out how to get you set so you understand. The most common mistake that I have made, and I've done them all, is forgetting to count the row and then having it be wrong. The second thing I did, which is ridiculous, but I had surgery in the middle of all this planning and pattern making, and I actually forgot to put the pearl roll in one of my hearts. And boy, you'll know something's really off when it's not working out. So that was the other one that I did. And so I can't encourage you more to know that this is only going to take about 20 minutes to knit, and maybe 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how fast you sew and how comfortable you are with closing it up. So you might spend a half hour, and one skein of yarn will make a lot of these hearts. So one skein is a lot of yards. I want to say several hundred yards on one of the skeins. So if you if you start making them and you love making them, which I think they're great, because if you're sitting around and just want a little project to work on, you're done in a half hour. I also have this habit of making them but not closing them up. So I'll wait and do all of that in one sitting. I just pull out the polyfill and start stuffing them and close them up. Kind of assembly line set in that regard, because I it's just a lot of, to me, it's easier just to do all of them, and then they're sitting there with, their guts sticking out, and you say, okay, I'll close you up now. And then for me, whatever I get, if you didn't close them up, I will close them up. If that is really a something that you don't want to do or you don't understand how to do, you can send them and either I will fix them or I'll find someone to help me here that will close them up for me. So,
Can I give two suggestions?
Mhm.
So if what I would do is number one, I would trust that the pattern is right.
Mhm.
So just Karen has knit many of them, the pattern is correct. So if something feels wrong, it probably is wrong. Like you've probably done something wrong. So
Yeah.
it's not that the pattern's wrong.
You saw me do it wrong.
Yeah. So I would trust that. And then even if you think you know what row you're on, for the first few you do, it might be wise to use a post-it note and just put it right underneath the line.
We don't have the
Yeah.
camera anymore.
Just put the post-it note right on the line you're
Yeah.
working on, and then just take the second to pause a minute, move the post-it note down. Just for the first few times you might do it, because you might think, I know I'm on row 2. Of course I do. But then we all, we
Right.
think different things. So
I'm on row 2, but I purled.
Yeah,
I'm
right,
not on
something's
3,
wrong.
but I'm not on 3, but I'm
yeah, so I would really, for the first few at least, until you know kind of what it should look like, you use a post-it note to make sure you're on the right row, because that's probably the two things I would say is trust the pattern. It is right. If something's wrong, it's because you've done something wrong. It's not a big deal, but it's not because the pattern's wrong.
Right.
Yep. So don't overthink that. And then, yeah, I would use a post-it note to keep track of where you are. So
Yep.
those are my two suggestions.
I love that because it's this kind of like trust the process, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we all get distracted, whether it's because we have kids that pop in all of a sudden or there's a phone call that we have to take. So
Yep.
it's good to be able to mark your spot.
Yeah.
And
It is really good. Yeah. And one of the things, another thing that I sometimes do is if you have one of those plastic sleeves that you can fit a piece of paper in the sleeve, I like to use those because then I can actually keep it nice in nice shape or whatever, still put the post-it note on there to mark where I'm at. And it keeps, if I showed you what my piece of paper that I've been working from that hasn't been in a file in it, you'd know it's so much easier. And the other thing about the post-it note is it's a place to write a note down if you have to put something, if you're leaving it alone and you go, I'm on row 3, I want to make sure I get back to row 3. Because I did put them down and there were times when I was like, what am I on? And why do I have one stitch too many? How many rows do I need to go back? And well, you saw me undo it, so you know you can undo it without taking it off the needle. And we're not talking about many stitches. And that really helps because this is not a big project.
I love how you timed it too to say, like if this is a max 30-minute project, like if you're an avid knitter or if you're a moderate knitter, so this is something that you could do in the afternoon with a group of friends,
Yeah.
and knit a couple hearts together and, email Karen and you can figure out where to send them to because it really does make a difference when you have a kid in the hospital or if you lose a child or lose your sister to Mito. It's nice to be able to know that other people are thinking of you and that they were thinking of you while they spent the time to knit. So I love this project, Karen, and your passion for it, and I think it's great. So the knitters that are watching this video or maybe received this video from a friend because you're being enticed into this project, if you have any more questions about Mito or why we're doing this project, feel free to reach out to Karen. Feel free to reach out to me too. My email is sharry, HARRY at mitoaction.org. And I can always connect you to Karen as well. But we just really appreciate everyone coming today and also appreciate those that are going to be knitting these hearts in the future. Are there any questions before we head off? Something in the chat. There are a couple people, let's see, that mentioned about crocheting, Karen, that are going to be getting
I
in
can tell
contact
you
with
what I
you.
know.
Yeah.
I found a pattern for crocheting and I'm happy to have people do it, but I am not a great crocheter. I do know how to crochet. I just don't know how to read a pattern of crocheting. It's like the saddest thing ever, right? But I do Tunisian crochet. I don't do like regular old crochet. So I did find a pattern. I think it will work, but I need a guinea pig who's willing to try the pattern following it exactly as it's written, and I haven't found someone who's willing to do that for me. So if there's someone listening or you know of someone, please let me know because I will forward the pattern. I'll even send them the yarn and everything so they can just do it. But I feel bad because I do sort of know how to crochet, but I don't feel like I'm the right one to teach it.
Well, thank you, Karen. Thanks
Yeah.
for looking into that. And I think it's a good plug. It's a good plug too.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Are there any last thoughts? Anything else you'd like to share, Karen, before we head off?
No, I hope that people will send me some hearts. I think the big surprise of this week was that there were people who sent me messages asking for hearts, and I did not anticipate that. Um, and one more thing I want to say is there was actually a request for someone who wanted one of a particular color because that color was very important to their
Mm.
family member. I have that color yarn, so I'm willing to go for it and do it. But we picked the color green for Mito because it was appropriate for that. But I don't have a problem if you feel like you want to use something else. Um, I'm more interested in that you make a nice product that you can be proud of and we all can be proud of. And then what happens, so that you know what happens with these hearts, is that I get a request and then I write a personal note to the family or the person, and there's and they get a card with that I've written that out on, and then it gets sent off to them, and we do that once a month. So we're looking for, and maybe if you're going to knit, it would be like fantastic if we could have some for November 1st, and send some off before the holidays, which is always hard for people. But
Mm.
when people ask for requests, I don't think I'm always going to be thinking I'm willing to make a special something. But if I have the scrap yarn around, I'm okay. It only takes about 15 or maybe 20 yards of yarn to do this project. So you can make it out of scraps. It's just use something that is either cotton, bamboo, or acrylic. And I don't think you'd make it out of silk, but you might have some old silk, but something that's not going to make people itch.
Like wool, I assume.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's one I'm allergic to. I'm allergic to wool, so.
Yep. I can't wear it either. Yeah.
And you said the knitting needles that are easiest to work with are not wood, right? Is that
Correct. So if you are
okay?
working with wool, it's fantastic to use wood. And if you're working with acrylic, then any metal needle will slide better. It's not that you can't do it with wood, because I did the first one with wood, and maybe the first couple, and then I thought, what am I doing? I should go, because I like my wooden needles, but yeah, and if you do have circular needles, I wouldn't say buy one for this, but circular needles make this a really easy project because it's all on the one needle, and if you drop a needle, you don't have to pick it up off the floor and put all the stitches back in and all that. So I actually really like circular needles. They're better ergonomically for your arms and hands and stuff too.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Karen, and
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time and all that you do. And thank you, Amy, for letting us crash at your shop today.
Happy to
And
have you.
thanks for everyone in your knitting community that is watching this video at some point or considering knitting hearts. And happy Mito Awareness Week to everybody here. And I look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thanks, Stephanie.